Why not us? Oh, why not us? 'Cause I'm right here. And no, I'm not counting myself out. I'm getting there. Even if I gotta make my own route. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Gray Report. I'm your host, Mark McLaughlin, with host George Schwertl. And today we have a special guest. I'm going to label this one, Riverhead Takes Over The Gray Report. All right? And the reason why we have our councilman, Tim Hubbard, who's running for Riverhead Town Supervisor. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Tim Hubbard. I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Riverhead, born and raised. My family goes back to the 1700s in the town of Riverhead. I live on the property where I was born, and my family owned property way back in the day, and they farmed it, and they did different things, and those are my roots. I'm Riverhead through and through. I've been Riverhead in my heart. I love my town, and it was just natural for me working as a police officer for 32 years in the town to continue on and provide my services to the town. I've always done community service, public service. I was on the school board in the town of Riverhead. I raised my family there. I have 5 children. They all went through Riverhead School District, as well as my wife and I did. And after 32 years on the police force, it was just kind of a natural progression for me to want to continue to give to my community. So I decided to run for election in 2015, and I won the election and started as a councilman in January 1, 2016. And that led me to where I am today.
Tim, I got to tell you, I'm reading a little bit here. First of all, what a candidate. Riverhead is lucky to have you. I don't know where to begin. 63 years. 63 years. And he got me when he lives on Hubbard Avenue.
Right?
Just wow, 63 years. I mean, the deputy supervisor at one time.
Yes.
He school board, 8 years as a councilman, 32 years on the police force in Riverhead. I mean, thank you for your service.
Wow, thank you.
For your service.
It's my pleasure.
yes,
I love serving my community. I love my community. It's how I was raised, and it's just kind of in my blood.
63 years living there, 32 years in the police force. I think you know a little bit about Riverhead.
I know Riverhead like the back of my hand, which is it's been a tremendous help, even back in my days with the police department. Going to school here, growing up with the people that I had to deal with my job as a police officer, it made life a lot easier, and it made my job a lot easier. And people knew me, and I had a great relationship with the public. So it made the job very easy.
Right.
Again, I can see that. I mean, school board, elected to school board, deputy supervisor, 8 years as a councilman, 32 years with the PD. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, wow. And you coached 32 teams through the years, over 900 kids?
Well, I have 5 children, and they were all athletic, and so you always coach their teams, but I also filled in and coached teams when I couldn't get other coaches to volunteer their time. And I love sports, so it was just a natural fix. It really was.
The hats, Deputy Supervisor, Mr. School Board, Mr. Councilman, Mr. Police Officer, Coach. I mean, many hats, I have to say.
It's just rewarding, George. I see kids today that I coached, and, they've gone off to college. They've continued their athletic career into the colleges. I see them as grown married people now, with their own children, and they're bringing their own children back into the Police Athletic League sports programs. And it's very fulfilling as a person to see that the work that you try to do and the things you try to complete come to fruition at some point in time down the road. And to see these kids, and they come up and they're still like, "Hey, Coach Hubbard," and I'm like, man, which kid is this? Which kid is this? There was so many of them. And they grow up and change on you. And, I saw a kid the other day at the country fair in Riverhead. Right. And he came up to me, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" And I'm like, I had to think for a second. I was like, "Dalton, right?" "Yes, Dalton." "Okay." And, they respect you. And I grew up in the town, and I had great coaches also. So it's just something you wanted to give back. You still talk about your favorite teacher, your favorite coach. And that's part of life, and that's part of the community in the town of Riverhead. And part of being in a diverse community, these are all the rewards we get out of a town like that. So I just absolutely love my town.
I mean, you give back so much to the community. I mean, I got to say it again, school board, councilman,
Right.
PD for 32 years, deputy supervisor. And I know you're running conservative and Republican conservative, and yet you were the deputy supervisor under a Democrat, which just goes to show, all party aside, you vote for the person.
Right.
And you are Mr. Riverhead. I mean, it's just...
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Thank you,
it. There's a lot of Mr. River and Mrs. Riverheads out there, though. And again, that's what makes our community so great. We showed up for the Sergeant Sweeney's funeral the other day.
Oh,
And the
yes.
whole community
Oh,
came out
yes.
and lined the streets as the horse-drawn casket was going down the road. It was just, it's incredible.
He was the
Our-
World War II veteran. That,
Yes. That his
yeah.
body had been missing in action for, I don't know, like 70 years.
Jeez.
And
Jeez.
the remains were recovered, and we did through Mr. Rothwell's funeral parlor. They did a fantastic job.
Yes,
with
I
this.
saw that. It was so
There
beautiful.
were people out from all over, and but that's what our community is. That's why you want to work and try to make your community the best it can be. And Riverhead has had a bad rap for a long time. There was always a perception, oh, Riverhead. But if you lived there, you knew the potential that it could be, and we're starting to reach some of those potential goals. We're not done yet, but we have come a long, long way.
Right.
Part of the reason I want to run for supervisor is to see a lot of these programs and things come to fruition that we've started, that
Right.
we know are going to be good for our town. And
The
that's,
downtown open development, you want to do the square, I saw an amphitheater, a playground.
yes, we have a town square. We demolished a couple of older buildings that were in poor condition, and we're going to make it a town square where it's going to be a place not only for our residents, but for the community, for
Right.
people in Suffolk County
Right.
or further west to come to and enjoy and realize that Riverhead is a place on the map. And they're going to go home and say, I want our town to be like Riverhead. And that's what we want.
Sure.
You know what I
You
like
know-
about you, Tim? You know, the first time I met you, you was very open arms. You know, and I've heard people talk stories about you. Like you mentioned bad rap earlier. Riverhead cops in general, tend to get a bad rap. But from what I heard about your past, you was the cop that would walk up to people and shake their hand. And I really liked when I heard that. I was like, wow, really, and I heard some, and
I was there. The one gentleman he said, always a gentleman.
yeah,
Always a gentleman.
yeah, I like that about you. Very warm, inviting. I mean, I gotta say it. I mean, the 3 years I've lived in Riverhead, they've adopted me. I've seen a lot of stars in Riverhead. A lot of people, get acknowledged. Hey, there's those ups and downs. That's around the world.
Right.
But one thing about Riverhead, and you're the example of that, the embracement. I mean, look at the multicultural restaurants and people, and every time I hear about you, it's something good. However, some people they do ask, hey, because they saw me in a picture with you because I was such a beautiful fundraiser.
Yes, yes,
I
you were.
I sang the national anthem, George.
Absolutely.
You know
I had
a
his
little bit about
fundraiser. Yeah, and I never touch anybody when I sing the anthem, but I had to turn back to Tim, and I touched him because I grew up I like him for you, man, because you're so inviting. You're a people's person.
People's
And
person.
Yeah,
I like that.
And again, I say that because Riverhead has treated me well, and you treat everybody well. Where do you get that inspiration from?
Well, that came from my upbringing with my parents. My dad was a school teacher, and he didn't grow up wealthy by any means. He actually he put himself on a train and went out to Notre Dame University, got accepted, got his education there. And he couldn't come home all year because he couldn't afford to get back on the train and come back. So he would work jobs while he was out there and going to school. And he came back, and his dad, it was humble beginnings. They were farmers in the early days, and they made ends meet, but they weren't wealthy people by any means. And they were just always community people. They were
Right.
people that you would see at events. They were people that would help fundraisers. They were people that would go out and give whatever they could to do, whether it was a potluck dinner or, back in the good old days, if you will. And again, I'm not alone in that with people from the town of Riverhead. People from the town of Riverhead are very embracing. And that's why it's easy for me to do what I did, because I've learned from so many others in our town, along with my own family.
There's a saying, if you're the smartest one in the room, time to find a new room. And it seems like you found a lot of rooms, because with your resume,
His family goes back to
very-
the 1700s.
oh my God.
I will never be the smartest person in the room, but my degree is in common sense. And common sense goes a long way, especially in this type of work. You have to listen to people, you have to care, and you have to decide at the end of the day, what do I think is going to be best for the town of Riverhead, and what do the people think, and hopefully we can meet and we can do what we have to do, because Riverhead is on the cusp of being one of the best towns on Long Island.
He
But
listens
Tim,
to the residents.
yeah.
He listens to the residents.
Right.
I mean,
You have to.
Like
you
you
absolutely
said,
have to.
like you said. So, what do you think is best for Riverhead?
I think the growth that's going on in Riverhead right now with the apartments downtown, we kind of stole a model from Huntington, Farmingdale, Patchogue. These models have been very, very successful. And even going back to earlier when Mayor Capel was out in Greenport, Greenport was a struggling town. And Mayor Capel made all kinds of changes and got all kinds of flack for trying to do it from the people who lived there. But he had a vision, and he saw what his town could be. And his town is so successful now.
yes.
And Huntington, Farmingdale, Patchogue, again, to say those three names, they've done very similar things. And we've brought in apartments downtown where people now have disposable income that they can go out and they can support the businesses, the restaurants, the shops, the mom and pops that we have. Towns would kill to have a Papa Nick's Cafe.
Sure.
We are true Main Street, and towns would love to bring that back. And we lost it for a little while with the development of Tanger, and all the businesses moved off up onto Route 58. But we're bringing it back with a strong revitalization. And I love what the other towns have done that I've mentioned.
Sure.
And I'm not disgracing them by any manner, but I think when Riverhead's done, we're going to be the best of all of them.
I like it. Smart development.
Smart
I
development,
like
smart
that.
growth.
Smart growth, smart development. I like that. And I mean, the guy's been there for 63 years. I think he's, but knows a little bit about the development of the town. Wow, smart development. I love it. And you graduated from Riverhead High School,
Yes, I did. My wife and I both went through Riverhead High School, and all 5 of our children also.
and you attended Suffolk County College. You said
I went to Suffolk Community College and left there to go into the police academy to start my police career.
again. Thank you for your service.
Oh, my
Thank you.
pleasure.
I got to tell
my
you,
pleasure.
it's, I know a lot of time out there, a lot of hours. Boy, I got to tell you.
I'm curious. So, rich history in the police force, then councilman, and now you're going for supervisor. Like, what makes you want to go from? You've been successful in all these endeavors. You could have retired and hung your jersey up in the rafters a long time ago. What keeps you going? Why supervisor now?
Well, for me, it's a natural progression. The type of work that I've always done, community service, public service, it just seemed to be a natural flow for me. And if I could go and continue to help my town, that's what I wanted to do. And from going from councilman to supervisor, I've been there 8 years. And in those 8 years, I've worked under 3 different supervisors. And I like to say I learned the good, the bad, and the ugly from all 3 of those supervisors. And it's going to make me be one of the better supervisors that the town has had. And I don't say that to boast, but I say that I'm coming in with more experience than somebody just coming in off the street, running for supervisor and winning. I'm going to be able to hit the ground running. I know the people, I know the players, and I know what needs to be done. So I think I'm going to give our town a really, really good shot as supervisor. And this is just, like I said, a natural transgression for me to move up and continue on.
I like that. And I'll tell you why I like that, because coming from the business sector, I've worked and operated several different businesses, and it's a saying we've said when you've worked somewhere, you say you learn how not to run a business because of this individual. Well, you know all the ins and outs. You've worked there, what works, what doesn't work. So you're going to come in and say that doesn't work. I've already seen that already. I've seen that, and that's what. Great candidate. Riverhead is.
Well, the challenge of it too is, you think after 8 years being there, I've learned a lot. Have I learned it all? By absolutely no means. Because every time when you think you've learned something, the next time that situation shows up, there's a curveball to it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't going to go that way. We have to figure something else out. So a lot of it's thinking outside the box. Which you have to do in today's age. Things are changing so fast. Technology,
Sure.
Right.
Battery energy storage systems.
Right.
Who heard about them 30 years? We didn't even know what they were. Logistic warehouses.
Yes.
For what? And now everything's robotics, and the technology is incredible, and it's changing every day. You have to keep up with it. And again, thinking at that big picture at the end of the day for what the town of Riverhead has potential for.
Right.
You have to factor all these things into it. And people don't like change. I get that.
Right.
I understand that. It's not 1965 when my dad and I would go down to Woolworths, go into the soda shop,
Sure.
and sit there and have a milkshake and a hamburger. You can still do that at Papa Nick's and other places.
Not for 25 cents or 50
no,
cents.
no, not at all. But you have to grow with the times.
Sure.
Right.
And once it's done, people will see, and anybody who's not comfortable with change, I think will embrace the change and will realize that the town is a much better place because of it.
You know what I see here? I see Tim's a problem solver. Mm-hmm. You know, from the schools, the boards, the PD, he solves the problems that happen in the town. Every day there's something going on.
Right.
But what a guy! And again, I know we brought up the airport.
No airport at the Epcal property, none whatsoever. No cargo jet port, no commercial airport. As a matter of fact, what I want to do is introduce some legislation. We're currently in a contract that we may or may not be in for much longer.
Sure.
And if we're not in it, I want to introduce some legislation to amend the zoning on that property so it can never, ever become a commercial airport or a cargo jet port. Right now, the only protection really for it is it's by a special permit of the town board to allow something to go on there. And my board is great. We're all in agreement with this no airport, no jet cargo port there now. But 5-6 years from now, it could be an entirely different board. So I want this bolted in steel that it can never become. Because too many people have bought houses, lived out there, raised their families, and they don't want, and I rightfully agree, they don't want aircraft flying over their house.
I like that again. He wants to protect the community, even for future.
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot. He's thinking ahead. I like that.
Riverhead has beautiful outdoor eating. We don't need fumes coming out.
No, coming right over your
not
head
at
there.
all.
You get that beautiful marina there. You got a lot going on. Riverhead's a beautiful town. I get it.
When
Long Island Aquarium, the Splish Splash. We're
Splish
about to
Splash.
open Island Water Park this
Yes.
month. The Peconic Hockey Rink this month.
Yes.
Beaches, breweries, wineries, Briarmere pies, if you're familiar with them.
Raspberry green
Green
pie.
pie. We have it all, and we
Yes.
just need to find a way to market it properly without overdoing it, without overkill, and so our residents are still comfortable to live here and be able to enjoy all the amenities that we have. Town will never be successful without amenities.
Sure.
And I think Riverhead has a very good share of amenities.
Hey, smart development. I like it.
You know, when I hear you talk, Tim, what comes to my mind is 3 words: solution, execution, and results. That's what comes to my mind when I hear you speak. You know, you definitely have the credentials, but you're a people's person too. You know, like there's a lot of smart people that don't have common sense. And you've mastered the both.
This is his backyard.
Yeah.
Come on. Wow.
My backyard.
63 years.
It's going to be my grandkids' backyard. It's, we want to protect it. We want to protect it. We want it right.
Well, I'm sure one of his grandkids will be Riverhead Supervisor one day. I got to tell you, this. Your family's been there forever. Very, very impressive resume. I got to tell you, Riverhead is going to be lucky to have you. Riverhead's going to be lucky to have you. I mean, what he's done and what he's going to do is just.
Talking about what he's going to do, what are some of the things that people could look forward to from you?
Well, the first thing right now we're working on the comprehensive plan, and that's so important right now because that's going to guide us through the next probably 20 years.
Right.
And we have to make sure we get it right because if we let something in the door now and 20 years from now we look back and say, oh, why did we do that? That's not what we want to do. We want to get it right now with this comprehensive plan. And there are so many things we're looking to do. We're talking about smart growth. We understand we need development. There will be development coming into town. But the Calverton area in Riverhead was, back in the 2003 comprehensive plan, was really given a lot of industrial zoning. And unfortunately, when people bought homes out here, they didn't realize that it was so much industrial zone, and they have these beautiful farm vistas that they look at. And they want to keep that, and I want to keep that.
Right.
That's part of our heritage of the town of Riverhead, the farming industry, duck farming, potatoes, cauliflower, you name it. Right. We've been great for it. So we want to keep that. And through smart growth, we can do that because we can allow some development to come in But we're going to use our transfer of development rights program where a developer, if he comes in and he can build, by law, he can build 100 by 100 square foot building. And he wants bigger than that because he needs to make more money. That's not going to work for him. Well, guess what? We'll think about that, but you're going to have to purchase our transfer of development rights to preserve our farmland. We have about 7,000 acres of farmland that's still preservable in the town. So you buy some of that farmland up and preserve it forever. One, it keeps our farmers in business.
Sure.
No farmers, no food. So we keep our farmers in business. We allow some development to come in, and we preserve this property. It's a win-win for everybody in the town.
That's a win-win. I remember seeing reading DRS, Developing Rights Sold, and they come in that way. That's a great.
Right.
Looking to the future.
Yeah, well,
look at he's talking about 20 years from now, right? You get it.
Right. I mean, I know you said borrowing from Huntington and Patchogue, but I know that Riverhead is going to be in a so much better place than those areas with you.
They're beautiful areas. I'm not knocking them.
I'm the chairman of the anti-bias task force. I'm not being biased. I'm not being biased.
Look, I am from Huntington. Let me tell you, they don't have the roasted corn on the side of the road. I'm just telling you right now. You got me at the roasted corn and a Brian Mears raspberry green pie. I'm good for the day. I'm good for the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I got to tell you, Tim, you have some resume here. They're going to be so lucky to have you and vote for Tim Hubbard. I mean, what a great candidate.
More lucky than they are to have me. I'm lucky to have the town as my town.
It's your home.
And when I say mine, I don't mean personally because people take offense to that. But in my heart, it's my town. And I care about every single thing that happens in it.
Right.
So that's when I refer to my town. I'm not trying to exclude anybody. I'm just trying to show my love for my town.
And you can see that. Again, I jokingly said you're Mr. Riverhead. And, again, in small town elections, I always say, and I can see that you were you're running as a Republican conservative, and you were the deputy supervisor under a Democrat. And it's great. You vote for the person, not always the party. I think everybody should vote for Tim Hubbard and his team.
Party means the least, honestly, at the local level.
Right, but it's the person. Look, I'm interrupting you because I'm just 63 years. I mean, this guy gets it. He's there to take care of his town. That's your baby. That's your home. That's your family there. It is. It's your family. 32 years in the police force. I just got to keep saying that. 32 years. 32 years in the police. 8 years as a councilman on the school board, deputy supervisor. You just graduated from Riverhead High School. You can't get any more Riverhead.
Right. Tim, before we leave off, do you want to share anything with the audience? We want to give you the floor to share anything that you wish.
Absolutely. We're going through a revitalization in town. People are going to have to be patient and understand that these things take time. But they also need to understand that the big picture that I keep talking about, the big picture at the end of the day, because we know people don't like change. They get accustomed to certain things. And that's how it should stay forever. And we also know that doesn't work because time goes by, things move on, and sometimes you can get caught left behind and not having the best that you can have. And I think that everything we're doing with the town square, with our transit-orientated district at the railroad station, very similar to what Farmingdale did. We're working with the MTA to provide more train service out east because everybody in Riverhead that has to commute goes to Ronkonkoma and catches the train in Ronkonkoma because there's not enough trains to go further out east. So as they say, you build it, they will come. If we build housing in the transportation area of the railroad station, they will come. MTA will work with us. We'll get more train service, and people don't have to get on the LIE every day to go to Ronkonkoma to catch a train to go up west. And so many people out east commute up west. And I give them a lot of credit because you're adding an hour and a half, 2 hours to a day to get into New York City or to Nassau County for a job. This will make it easier for you to do that.
Right.
And you can enjoy more quality life out here, which is why you bought out here. You wanted to get away from all that. So if you still have to go in for work, you have a beautiful place to come back and live.
Smart development.
Mm-hmm. Smart development.
Thinking ahead, working with the MTA. That's something I never knew that they had to drive all the way into Ronkonkoma.
Yeah, that's where everybody goes. There's only like 2 trains a day that come out east. So,
wow. I learned something. Yeah, that's great. Wow, I got to tell you, and you have a website or anything, or
I do. I have Tim Hubbard for Riverhead Supervisor.
Okay,
is my website .com.
Sure,
and you can go on it and see some of the things I've been doing. I'm my daughter is my campaign manager, and she's a little
Megan
more
Hubbard?
technical sense than I have. So she does a great job with it, and we're uploading stuff all the time. So
And I met your daughter. She's a sweetheart.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Thank
She's proud
you.
of her dad. Very
yes,
proud of her dad.
I'm
We're proud of you.
I'm proud of them.
I got
I'm
to
proud
tell
of
you,
each one of my kids, without a doubt, and my grandkids.
she's working hard out there. She's putting signs out. She's working
Yeah.
hard. Team Hubbard.
Well,
It is.
I know you shook hands as a PD and a councilman. I look forward to seeing you shake hands as Riverhead's new supervisor.
Likewise, and I appreciate the show today. This is awesome.
Well, thank you for
Thank
being
you
on
so
it.
much for giving me a platform. And
You're a great candidate.
Come on out.
I got to tell you, Riverhead is lucky. I will be there when you get sworn in.
oh,
I can
love
tell
it.
you. I will.
Thank you
We will
so
both
much,
be
sir.
there.
Hopefully, I can do some singing. I know a great singer.
I know a great singer.
Great stuff.
Mark does a fantastic job. We
Thanks
love
again,
him.
Tim.
All right. Well, ladies
Thank
and
you.
gentlemen, it's another episode of The Great Report. Like I said, Riverhead takes over The Great Report. I'm Mark McLaughlin, George Schwertl. Tim Hubbard, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why not us? Oh, why not us? 'Cause I'm right here.